All right, so this is part 2 of the 4th phase of the Bulk Ops Bootcamp. We're going to be going over the boosted columns and boosted threshold examples. In this one, we'll probably also touch a little bit on the campaign level thresholds, but up to this point, if you made it to this video, you are a super nerd, I will say. So you should probably have yourself checked out. The rest of this is pretty advanced, and it's going to be stuff that if this is your first go around with ad tactics, I would just kind of master the stuff we've talked about prior to this video. This next series is really going to confuse you if you don't understand that. So the boosted columns, these are Amazon-centric data points and rank-based data points from our ranks tool that really allow you to segment out certain layers of your account to utilize and use this data to deploy a lot of different things. So, it's very easy to understand if you understand how the yellow section here works with being able to customize your rule types and rule logic and kind of the hierarchy. You need to understand all of that before you start messing with this. But after that, go ahead and hover over these. It'll explain kind of what each one of them are. I'm going to just do one example. You can do a lot of different combinations and kind of rule logic. Pretty much if you can dream it, you can do it. It's just a matter of gathering the right data and the right campaign. Sometimes you need to use overrides to deploy certain things, but anyway. The boosted columns are here kind of hidden behind the scenes. Just go ahead and expand those. Now, to use this criteria and columns, you do need to add one thing to your bulk file. And you can do this after you've synced your bulk file. So syncing your bulk file, you'll know it's synced because you'll see a red new bid column and it'll just look nice and kind of organized here. That's also this step here that we went over in kind of the initial video. So it's got to be in the as sync state. But after it's in the as sync state, go to the settings tab and you can toggle on. In this case, let's toggle on both of them for the sake of this demo because we'll touch on the campaign performance thresholds as well towards the end. But the most important for the rules that we want to run here are the search volume, the rank, the search query performance, and impression share. That's this first option. You'll want to have already also, added the supplemental data. So we went over that in the, I think, second video in this series. So you'll want to have added those and then, again, made it through the sync operation. And then the last thing you'll want to do after you've synced your file is go down to Boosted Bulk Files and click on Add Bulk Ops Boosted Columns. All right, it'll just tell you what it's going to do here. So it's going to add the advanced Amazon data and campaign level, and that's because we have both of them ticked there. So I just hit yes. And depending on how big your bulk file is, that operation may take 30 seconds to a minute to run. It is adding quite a few extra columns to all your sheets down here. The other thing you potentially might run into if you have a really big bulk file is hitting a Google cell limit. If you do run into that, you're going to need to go back to the members area and go down here and use our optimizer tool before you import your bulk file. So just know that that's a potential if you've got a bunch of rows there in your bulk file. So anyway, what that script did is it added all of these additional columns. So you've got the orange and the green are advanced kind of Amazon-centric data, and then you've got campaign level total data here. So a use case for this is probably the placement algorithms that we'll talk about in the next video. But basically what you can do is expand this section in a very similar fashion how we added thresholds here. In yellow, these are at the target level. You can also, if you add the campaign level thresholds, you can do them at the campaign level. So where that may come into play is if you only want to add placement algorithm rules for campaigns that only have orders over, 5 or something like that. You would put that at the campaign level since the placement adjustment is done at the campaign level, not the target level. So that's kind of one use case I can think of. I honestly haven't experimented a ton with the campaign level thresholds yet. That's a very new feature we've added. But the boosted column thresholds here for our advanced Amazon data is a pretty popular feature. So what you can do is go back to your sponsored products, and as long as you've added in your kind of additional supplemental reports, specifically like your search query performance, brand analytics, if you've synced your ranks data, that's another column here that we've got some metrics to work with. But you can hop in here, and I like to start by just kind of sorting through and seeing how many data points we have. So in this demo file, we don't have a ton that have rank data. So that's kind of one thing, but you can easily filter and just see which has values. Now we do have some in here that it looks like have search query performance. So let me just filter out anything that doesn't. So for search query performance and rank data to show up, you do have to have single ASIN structured campaigns. So the way you know that is this column AM, which will get carried down all the way to the bottom of your sheet. That'll show you at the target level even, how many ASINs rather in that campaign that you're currently targeting. If you're targeting multiple ASINs, we don't necessarily know if a conversion's made, if it was made on ASIN A or ASIN B. We don't know that at the target level. So that's why if you want to use these advanced boosted thresholds, I'd advise you to grandfather in a single ASIN structured campaign model where, any new campaigns you create, you just have one campaign, likely one ad group, and then one ASIN within that ad group. And then I even prefer for campaigns that you're really trying to focus on ranking, or the ones where your search query performance data is really evident, do just one keyword then in those campaigns. Then you have ultimate full control over the campaign and kind of all the data points. But anyway, once you have some data in here in these boosted columns and you kind of analyze it, you can set up rules now using these additional columns in a very similar fashion how we added them here in the general PPC performance. So let me add a couple common ones that I like here. Just give me a second. All right, so I just put together a quick example here, and I used a action that we haven't used yet. So it's modifying the bid based on the CPC. So I put in a CPC update of 10%. You can also add a negative sign. That would be a decrease of either 10% or a fixed value. So yeah, you can hover over this and it'll explain the different options. But anyway, this rule is basically going to adjust any targets that have an order, so that's greater than 0 orders, that has a CTR, search query performance trend of 1, and a CVR trend of 1. So if you hover over here, you learn that 1 means you are better than the market for click-through rate. And conversion, same deal. Your conversion rate is better than the market. So it's basically going to increase our bids substantially for any target where our search query performance data is showing this trend, as well as, and these are parameters I may or may not typically add. I just kind of added them for the sake of this training to kind of demo it, but it's top of search impression share. So that data is pulled in automatically with the target report. So again, you can go back and watch the tutorial here to learn how to import that. It's pretty easy. And then the impression share, the other one here, search term impression share, that's going to be the ad related, overall ad related search term impression share. So less than 10% on top of search impression share and less than 50% ad related. That means there's 50% of impressions basically left over that I can go and get. So these would be the targets that I really have high potential, and Amazon data is showing me I have high potential to scale. I just need to increase my traffic. So what I've done is just set that up and reran autopilot. You can see there's 29 sponsored products and potentially some sponsored brands ones as well I can look at. And this is a good way to just kind of guess and check and kind of refine your strategy as well, is almost kind of reverse engineering things. So I'm going to go back now and look at rule number 1. So just filter, the bid rule column here for rule number 1. And you can see here's my increases. So to go through a quick calculation of this one, so all of these have more than 0 orders. And then over here, you've got your click-through rate trend is 1, your conversion rate trend is 1, and then our top of search impression share less than 10, and search term impression share less than 50%. All right, and the calculation was a 10% increase off the CPC, which the CPC is over here. So if I take out my calculator and I do 0.85 times 1.1, I get 0.935. So that's why you see 0.94. And some of these you see are jumping up pretty big, like this one. And that's because I am not using a throttle on this one. You can see there's no throttle. So it's going to go based on whatever that calculation gives you. So yeah, you want to kind of review the short list of targets that are going to get impacted when you set up a rule like that, because it may or may not be doing what you want it to, and you may need to kind of add some additional parameters or potentially segment things out a little bit further. You can really expand your strategy with the overrides. If you want to have just certain targets that this gets deployed on, I could add a target level override, come in here and say, I actually only care about these 5 targets. So copy those and then go back over to autopilot, use a override in addition to these advanced options to segment that further. So a lot of customization you can do here. I'm going to actually end this video on this one before we go into the placement algorithms, because that's probably the most advanced part, and that'll kind of have its own video by itself. So anyway, hope this helps, guys. See you on the next one. Cheers.